Have you ever stopped to wonder about the small white grains sitting in a shaker on your kitchen table? To most of us today, salt is just salt. It is cheap. It is everywhere. We use it without thinking. A tiny pinch here and a little shake there. But my friends, imagine a world where those tiny grains were as valuable as gold. Imagine a time when salt was so precious that it could start wars, build great empires, and even pay a soldier's salary. It sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it? But this is the true story of our world. Think about the last meal you enjoyed. Was it a savory soup or perhaps a piece of grilled meat? Without salt, that meal would feel empty. It would lack the spark that makes our taste buds dance. But salt does much more than just make our food taste better. It is a fundamental part of who we are. It is in our blood, our sweat, and our tears. For thousands of years, salt was a mystery. People knew they needed it, even if they didn't know why. It was the invisible necessity. In this journey together, we're going to look closer at this common mineral. We will peel back the layers of history to see how a simple rock shaped the destiny of humankind. Are you ready to travel back in time? Imagine the crackle of a fire and the smell of the sea. We're going to explore how early humans first found this white gold. We will see how it allowed us to travel across oceans and survive the coldest winters. So the next time you reach for that salt shaker, take a moment. Look at those tiny crystals. You are holding a piece of history in your hand. You are holding the secret ingredient of civilization. Let's begin our story at the very beginning with the primal craving that started it all. Long before there were cities, stores, or even farms, there were the first humans. These ancestors of ours lived simple lives. They hunted animals and gathered wild plants, but they had a secret, deep-seated need. They had a craving that they couldn't quite explain. Every living creature needs salt to survive. It helps our brains send signals to our muscles. It keeps our hearts beating in a steady rhythm. Our early ancestors didn't have science books to tell them this, but their bodies knew. They felt it in their bones. How did they find it? They watched the animals. Have you ever seen a deer or a cow licking a specific rock in the woods? These are called salt licks. Animals have a natural instinct to find minerals in the earth. Early humans followed them. They watched where the creatures gathered, and they discovered these salty places for themselves. Imagine a group of early humans reaching the edge of the great blue ocean for the first time. They tasted the water, and it was sharp and stinging. But when the sun dried the water on the rocks, it left behind a white crust. When they tasted that crust, it was like an explosion of flavor. It made their meat taste better, and more importantly, it made them feel stronger. Away from the sea, finding salt was much harder. It became a treasure hunt. People searched for salty springs or dug into the earth to find hidden layers of rock salt. This search changed how we lived. We could not stay in one place if there was no salt nearby. We had to move. We had to explore. There were no maps, no tools, and no easy ways to carry supplies. But the craving was too strong to ignore. Salt was not just a seasoning. It was a lifeline. It was the spark that pushed humans beyond the next hill and toward the first great civilizations. As humans began to settle and farm, a new problem appeared. How do you keep food from going bad? If you caught a lot of fish in summer, it would rot in days. Winter could mean starvation. Salt became a miracle. Humans discovered that covering meat or fish in salt pulled out moisture. Without moisture, bacteria could not survive. Salt became the world's first refrigerator. It allowed people to save the summer's harvest for the long, dark winter. In ancient Egypt, salt was essential. A special salt called natron was used to preserve the bodies of kings, but it was also used to preserve fish from the Nile. That salted fish fed the thousands of workers who built the pyramids. In ancient China, rulers quickly understood salt's importance. Everyone needed it, so emperors took control of the salt trade. The wealth it generated helped build the Great Wall and fund vast armies. Salt was not just food, it was power. Because of salt, humans could travel far. Sailors crossed oceans with barrels of salted meat. Explorers walked through deserts with food that would not spoil. Without salt, the world would have remained small and disconnected. But as salt grew more important, it grew more expensive. Eventually, it became so valuable that it was used like money. This brings us to the Roman Empire. One of Rome's most important roads was called the Via Salaria, the Salt Road. It carried salt from the sea into the heart of the empire. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt or given money to buy it. This payment was called a salarium. From it, we get the word salary. A good soldier was said to be worth his salt. A lazy one was not. Salt was even placed on Roman tables as a sign of friendship and trust. To share salt was to share peace. But salt could also be a weapon. After defeating enemies, Romans were said to spread salt on fields to make them barren. Salt could build civilizations, and it could erase them. In the Middle Ages, salt trade routes spread across continents. In Africa, caravans crossed the Sahara carrying slabs of salt to places like Timbuktu. There, salt was traded for gold, ounce for ounce. The Mali Empire grew rich because of this trade. In Europe, Venice rose to power by controlling salt production. In northern regions, salted fish became the fast food of the medieval world. Deep underground, massive salt mines were carved, some so large they contained chapels and cathedrals made entirely of salt. Because everyone needed salt, kings taxed it heavily. In France, the hated salt tax, called the gabelle, caused immense suffering and helped spark revolution. Later, in India, salt became a symbol of freedom. When British rulers banned Indians from making their own salt, Mahatma Gandhi responded with a peaceful march to the sea. By picking up a simple lump of salt, he challenged an empire and ignited a movement for independence. Salt was no longer just a resource. It became a symbol of human rights. Over time, salt found its way into religion, superstition, and culture. It was used to bless homes, protect against evil, and seal promises. Sharing salt meant friendship. Bread and salt meant welcome. Then came the Industrial Revolution. Machines allowed humans to mine massive salt deposits deep underground. Salt became cheap and abundant. It was no longer white gold. Today, only a small portion of salt is used for food. The rest melts icy roads, makes glass, soap, medicine, and countless modern products. Salt even became a tool for public health when iodine was added to prevent disease. From rare treasure to silent worker, salt has never lost its importance. We have traveled far together, from prehistoric hunters to Roman soldiers, from desert caravans to peaceful protests. A simple mineral made of two elements shaped empires, economies, and lives. The next time you hold a single grain of salt, look closely. It is a crystal formed millions of years ago. When you taste it, you taste the same thing that ancient builders, soldiers, and explorers once did. Salt is not just a seasoning. It is a witness to history. It is the white gold that helped build our world. Stay curious, my friends. There are stories hidden in the smallest things, if you look closely enough.